Alex Bregman finished off a homestand with the third walk-off victory in a 6-3 homestand. A series win against all three teams. Bregman hitting a home run last night to wrap things up against the Toronto Blue Jays. Tonight, we welcome you to St. Petersburg, Florida, inside Tropicana Field, where the Houston Astros carry a record of 54-28, and they are riding a winning streak on the road, taking on the Rays, who have also won 8 in a row at home. So the Astros and the Rays start a 4-game series at Tropicana Field. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Todd Callis alongside Jeff Blum. Glad you could join us for another night of Astros baseball. Blummer, a lot of home games leading into the All-Star break, but this is the one road trip. It'll be nice to kick it off with a win.
And, you know, they look forward to getting back on the road. They're going to have a tough task in front of them here at Tropicana Field. Good pitching team on an 8-game winning streak at home.
If you're talking about road teams, there have been none better in 2018 than the Houston Astros.
It's pretty amazing. On the road this season, in comparison to other Major League Baseball teams, they have a plus 128 run differential. The pitching has been extremely good throughout the course of the season, home or road. The real difference in these numbers has been the offense. The offensive numbers have been absolutely incredible. They get on the road, they start to rake, put up some big power numbers, on-base percentage, slugging, OPS, all these numbers start to jump, and they put runs on the board big time.
We mentioned the winning streak on the road. Last road trip, a perfect 10.
20 home runs in those 10 games. The 321 average is nice, but getting on base at a 38% clip leads to a lot of runs being scored, and that's why that number jumps a couple more. Even in that 10 wins, 7.4 runs per game is an excellent number. They just look forward to getting in that gray uniform, having some room service, and starting to rake.
Well, something has to give tonight, because while the Astros have won 10 in a row in their last road trip, they're going against a team that has been very hot at home.
Yeah, they've been extremely good. Last 8 home games, they do have that 8-game winning streak here at Tropicana Field. They are very comfortable. The 1.44 ERA is good. Blake Snell is a starter. Evaldi is a starter. And then it's kind of a bullpen day throughout. Stanek is going tonight, and he's got very good numbers against these Houston Astros. But remember, the Astros in Tropicana Field, 2.83 runs per game in their last 12 here at the Trop.
They have struggled to score runs here against Tampa Bay. It will be Stanek on the mound for the Rays against Lance McCullers Jr., the local product from Tampa Jesuit High School. We'll have more after this. By Southwest Airlines. Low fares, no hidden fees. That's transparency. By Arctic. Overbuilt, not overpriced. And by Jack in the Box. Try the $4.99 Jack Spicy Chicken with toasted sourdough. When we come back, we'll be joined by Julia Morales, and she'll talk about an Astros duo that could set a new franchise record this month.
Coming up in just a few minutes. It's been a good series here recently for them, a good homestand. They're hoping to continue that. It's really just been a good month, and when you talk about that, you got to start with Evan Gattis. 3 RBI yesterday to put him at 30 for the month of June. He's setting records, but he's not alone. Our HEB no player does more, shows another guy on this team putting up some ridiculous numbers so far this month. RBI and home runs combined between these two. We've got 56 ribbies, 17 bombs. That's a lot of bases for these two right here. What they've been doing is really impressive, especially for all the work that they've put in. Evan Gattis from where he started this season, and then Alex Bregman putting a lot of work in over the offseason. So good to see that right here, but the number jumping out for Gattis being 30, that's a new franchise record for the month of June. It has 3 days left. So we're taking a closer look at their numbers so far. It's really incredible, guys, to see what Evan Gattis has done, but to know that Alex Bregman's right there with him putting up some crazy numbers. This offense is clicking, and these two are a big reason why. They've got a couple days left of June, so let's see where the number ends up after 3 more days, TK.
Days over this weekend, and then the series will wrap up on Sunday on July 1st. So they have at least 3 more to add to that total, as we'll take a look at the Astros lineup presented by Southwest Airlines. At the top will be George Springer in right field. Alex Bregman is the third baseman. HOU AT TBA bats third and plays second. You notice no Carlos Correa. More on that in just a minute. Josh Reddick in left field hits cleanup. Evan Gattis DHs. Marwin Gonzalez the shortstop. Tyler White gets a start at first base. Brian McCann behind the plate. And Jake Marisnick rounds out your Astros lineup.
Ryan Stanek on the mound for the Tampa Bay Rays. This will be his 8th start, his 20th appearance. He has a 1-on-1 record. He's done a good job since May 26, including his 4 start span of 11 games since June 16th. 0-1 with a 1.80 ERA.
Stanek can bring the heat as he faces George Springer. He was outstanding as the opening starter against the Astros back at Minute Maid Park. And he blows the fastball by Springer. It's 1-1.
Yeah, Stanek can bring it. 98 miles an hour he's averaging on that fastball. He will go to that slider and split-fingered fastball to get the out with the secondary pitches.
First of 4 between the Astros and the Rays. As Springer takes a called strike, it's 1-2. Last time Stanek faced all right-hand hitters at the top of the Astros lineup. And he would retire all 5 in just a mere 11 pitches. Springer, Bregman, Altuve, Correa, and Gurriel. No Correa tonight, no Gurriel tonight. As Springer goes down swinging, Stanek picks up a strikeout, the first batter he faces.
I think it might have been a split. George has been struggling, and then you got to face a guy throwing 98, and he's got a split that just falls off the table.
While the leadoff hitter has been struggling, it has not impacted the number 2 hitter. As you see, Yuli Gurriel will be gone for the team on paternity leave. 3 days. Wish him and his wife the best as they welcome in a baby tomorrow. A.J. Reed is recalled from Fresno, so he is active and on the bench tonight for A.J. Hinch, as Alex Bregman, coming off an incredible 2-game stretch where he had 7 extra base hits in his last 9 at bats, including the walk-off to wrap up the homestand yesterday. Bregman also walked off a game earlier in the homestand against Tampa Bay and Sergio Romo with a double into the left center field gap. In both cases, the Astros trailed the whole game until the last swing of the game by Alex Bregman. This time he pops one up foul on a 2-0 pitch.
Pretty good note on Alex Bregman. 7 extra base hits in his last 9 at bats. First player in franchise history to do so.
That is pretty good when you have a franchise older than 50 years and you become the first to do something. And Bregman with 5 doubles and 2 home runs in that span. He's got a count of 3-1 here against Stanek. And that ball's hit well to left field, going all the way back. Malik Smith, and he will jump up and make the catch in front of the wall. Bregman didn't miss extra bases by much. Alex made a nice catch, running and jumping right in front of the wall and left.
Still a good swing and a good job of staying in the zone and working the count to his favor in order to get a pitch he could possibly drive. Flipped it good, just not good enough.
I'll bring up Jose Altuve. Altuve starts the day with a .345 batting average. Also more hits than anybody in baseball. Altuve's road numbers continue to be phenomenal. .394 on the season. Fastball misses. It's 1-1. Jerry Lane's the home plate umpire tonight, also the crew chief. Stanek not only was the opening pitcher for the Tampa Bay Rays in the first game against the Astros at Minute Maid Park, he then came in the very next night and served as a bridge to the closer in the 7th and 8th innings. And we've seen that happen not only against Houston, but his very next 2 appearances. He was the opening starter against the Yankees in game 1 of their series, and then again served as the bridge late in the game to get to their closer. It's an unusual circumstance here with what the Rays are doing, trying to negotiate through a rotation that only has 2 real true starters. 3-1 pitch misses to Altuve, and he draws a 2-out walk. Stanek, I'm sure, like Dallas Keuchel, not thrilled with the result of Game 2 of the College World Series last night. Stanek went to Arkansas as Josh Reddick digs in against him. Fly ball into left field. Malik Smith comes in and over, makes the play for the final out of the inning. One walk, one man left on base. Off Matt Duffy, Jake Bauers, your first three hitters. Wilson Ramos having a nice season behind the plate. Joey Wendell, the second baseman. CJ Crone is the DH. Malik Smith in left. Carlos Gomez in right field, and Willie Adames, the shortstop tonight.
Lance McCullers Jr. on the mound for the Houston Astros. He is a Tampa Bay native. Has not pitched well here at Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg. 0-2 with a 6.0 ERA. But in 16 starts this season, he has a great record at 8-3. In 95 and a third innings pitched, he has 99 strikeouts.
And the first pitch is a fastball to Kevin Kiermaier for a swinging strike. Kiermaier hitting a grand slam on Monday, accounting for 4 of his 5 runs batted in on the season. Kevin has a total of 71 ABs, has missed much of the season due to a thumb injury. Saw him come off the DL in that series against the Astros at Minute Maid Park. He's only 4 for 28 since coming off the DL. McCullers quickly ahead of him, 0-2. Slowly chopped. Kiermaier with speed. McCullers covers, and the throw by White not in time. That was going to be a tough play as soon as that ball was chopped into the ground, and Kiermaier beats out an infield hit.
Well, Tyler White playing in place of Yuli Gurriel, who is on that paternity list. The shift is on, so that puts a unique situation, and with that ball not being hit as hard, both Altuve and Tyler White had an opportunity. With the ball not being hit very hard, Tyler White came after it. Turned it into an extremely close play. Lance McCullers made a great play on it. They're going to check this one back in New York.
So maybe close enough that the Astros end up with an out in it. Lance got over there and covered, and looked like he had the bag and the ball just in time to beat Kiermaier.
It's not easy to do. Lance did a great job of getting there, understanding where the base was, and had to look back towards the infield to get that throw from Tyler White.
He had a struggle with that in a play against Kansas City, a game we didn't televise, but couldn't find the bag. But it looks like in this particular case, the Astros may have an argument here. Take another look at this. You can decide for yourself at home.
Looks like that heel might be on it. I mean, he didn't hit it in the traditional sense of putting the foot on it. Mattress from Supermo is going to give us another look at it. Great job of Lance just staying focused on that baseball. Slides into the bag. Hey, might have a call go his way.
Looked like as the foot was sliding, it got to the bag just ahead of Kiermaier. Not by a lot. But it looked like there was enough there to overturn it. A.J. Hinch thinks so, to challenge the first play of this game.
I would have studied a little bit harder if I knew we were going to have a replay review this long, this early.
Out.
It's an effective challenge.
I think we're still close to 100%. I don't want to jinx it, but I think we're still close to 100% on our guesses this year.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty good look at it. Again, on that mattress from Supermo, that foot sliding into the bag and making contact before the foot of Kiermaier gets on top. Good athleticism by Lance.
And good challenge by A.J. Takes a fast runner off the bases. Here's Matt Duffy. Duffy first pitch swinging, fouls one into the camera well. Duffy on the year batting .317. That's good for 6th overall in the American League. .345 against right-hand pitchers, which is second to only the Astros second baseman Jose Altuve. Fastball in on Duffy. It's 1-1. Astros 10 straight wins on the road. The Rays 8 straight wins at home, and they have shutouts in 3 of their last 4 games. Shutting out some pretty good offenses, the Yankees and the Washington Nationals.
Got to catch those teams at the right time. They have reasonable pitching, but the way they put it together to be able to have that many shutouts in 4 games is pretty good.
Now, this opening pitcher stuff, which a lot of people like talking about, has worked well for them. They have done well since they started Sergio Romo in a game back in mid-May. They've had the best ERA in baseball since that stretch. They said Duffy went around as a 2-2 count. Ground ball towards the second baseman. Altuve is there, makes the play for out number 2.
As a novelty act, I believe, for me, it could work, but I'm not sure how long it can work. And I'm not sure as an organization how you encourage guys to play in your system knowing that they're going to have opening starters and bullpen days.
It's something that I think teams, certainly the Astros wouldn't qualify for this, but teams that are struggling to find a 4th or 5th starter could consider. And the Rays are kind of putting a blueprint down for that possibility, but I don't think it's for everybody for sure. The Astros, if anything, would love a 7-man rotation if that made sense, because they could have Colin McHugh and Brad Peacock as possible starters.
Just have 7 guys that can go 7 innings each. It'd be easy to patch that together.
Here's Jake Bauers. And a day where lots of teams are looking for starters, the Astros have a couple of extra starters who have done a great job in their bullpen. Bauers has been solid since his call-up, the 22-year-old rookie. .324 in his last 10 games, has that average up to .284. Lance fires in a strike. It's 1-2. Now with 2 strikes, Alex Bregman shifts all the way back to deep shortstop. Marwin and Altuve on the right side along with Tyler White. Marwin playing shortstop again tonight. The Astros continue to be perfect with Marwin at short. They are 8-0 with Marwin as a starting shortstop, and 2-0 with him starting at third base. He may see some more time there coming up, as Carlos Correa will go on the disabled list. A little bit of the Astros being cautious with their star shortstop. Slowly hit towards first. That ball stays fair somehow. Tyler White will beat Bauers to the bag, and Lance McCullers a strong start to this game with 3 ground ball outs.
is that it is progressing, but there is bad news as it will take a few more days than they had expected in the beginning. The Astros deciding to place Carlos Correa on the 10-day DL with that back soreness, and AJ said, we're just going to take it out of his hands. They didn't want him coming to the park every day thinking he may or may not be able to play in every game, and so they decided that he wasn't going to play this weekend. So by doing it now, they're going to make it retroactive to June 25th, that last game he played in, so he could be hopefully available when the homestand, or when we return for the homestand. But guys, he reported that back soreness in that last game he played in. He said he stiffened up a bit after a defensive play, and then he felt it in that last at bat. So this is not related to the right side soreness that he missed games with earlier this month. But again, there is some good news. He is progressing, and hopefully it's that homestand that he returns. TK.
Yeah, that will be good to see. And again, I think it was kind of one of those tweeners with a 10-day DL. If it was a 15-day DL, they may have wanted to wait to see how he progressed. But with a 10-day DL, you don't feel like, why not let him be ready a couple of days too early and then feel absolutely great by the time he comes off that.
It's only a 7-day DL now. He retro that thing, so it's only a week he's going to be out, so it's not that bad.
Yep,
I'm with you, a young enough guy. Don't want him to go out there and stress it or make it any worse than it is right now.
It's very early in the season, even though we reached the halfway point already. Carlos will be back for that homestand as the Astros are on the road for a 6-game, 7-day road trip. As we have seen with the opening starter, especially last start, Ryan Stanek lasted just 5 batters and 11 pitches. So bullpen action going for the Tampa Bay Rays. Stanek at 18 pitches as he faces Evan Gattis to lead off the second. Two and two.
Good fastball to hit at 98 miles an hour on that outer third. MD Anderson shows you the 2 pitches inside the zone. He fouled off that first pitch, missed on that second fastball in that outside corner.
Time that went up a little better. That fastball's got some nice run to it.
It really does.
That was 99.
Riding that thing out.
Got the story on the yellow bat, huh?
Yeah. He's rubbing betadine on it. I caught him in the hallway again, and I had to ask him, I go, what is up with the yellow bat? It's not a typical bat that you roll into the bat company and say, hey, give me that highlighter yellow bat. But he decided to go into the trainer's room with his sticks and massage him with betadine.
Well, that time it didn't work out, but leave it to Evan Gattis to find a new way to prepare a bat for game readiness. It's hard to argue with 30 runs batted in the month of June. Marwin having trouble getting the weight off his bat. That's why we have a little bit of delay here. And now all is good. That ever happened to you?
Yeah. Just pine tar all over the inside of that donut or whatever they call that thing now, that weight that goes on the end.
That weight sleeve?
Yep. That's the hanging split finger that beat Evan Gattis. But yeah, that little weighted sleeve that goes on the end of the bat usually gets some pine tar over the season stuck on it. The turf has a little bit of give to it. It doesn't have that firm foundation that you want to slam that thing off of. That's why Marwin went into the dugout to get that donut off there.
Marwin had a big hit in yesterday's game. Obviously the biggest hit was Alex Bregman, and that's the one that you saw in all the highlights, but Marwin got it to a 1-run game, snapped an 0 for 23 in the process with a home run against his former teammate Tyler Clippard. Marwin was around to bunt and was called for an attempt at a bunt, so now he's down to the count 0-2. Called third strike. Same pitch that he got Gattis with, that little split finger that stayed up in the zone, but that had a lot of plate. Stanek picks up his third strikeout, a second of the inning.
It's almost acting like a knuckleball. Wilson Ramos kind of framing that up as if it was kind of knuckling in there. But sometimes if that split comes out, it usually comes out in a tumbling motion. But if it kind of shoots out of the fingers and doesn't really create a release or off that grip, it can kind of knuckle a little bit coming out of the hand.
Tyler White with his second start of the year.
There's that split-fingered grip. But see how it just kind of shot out of his hand. Didn't really like have to pull down on it. That's why it kind of fluttered like a butterfly coming in.
White takes pitch. It's 2-0. Tyler's played in 8 games now. His second start. May see AJ Reed get a start over the weekend. Pitch is a called strike. It's 2-1. Brian Yarborough has been warming since the beginning of the inning. You would assume this will be the last batter for Stanek either way, with the left hand hitting Brian McCann due up next. Counts 2-2.
Camera looks a little off. I think you're going to have to go up and adjust that one, TK.
I think Julia will tomorrow. Rumor is Julia will be heading up there for our Friday bases loaded segment. And taking the manager, AJ Hinch, up there as well. The opposing manager, who's the home manager, Kevin Cash, didn't think he would necessarily head up there. AJ didn't seem to have a problem with it. Here's a foul ball out of play. And it stays 3-2.
Well, it sounds all good in theory until you get up there. That's when reality sets in. We'll have to wait and see.
You have to go up there early enough that there's nobody on the field. So that means well before batting practice.
And why is that, Todd?
Falling objects do damage. So
security reasons, yeah.
They'll be up there during
some health issues when you're hundreds of feet off the floor of the earth.
3-2 pitch is fouled back.
What's your favorite ring?
I like the ones that are home run rings. I'll go C or D. C's the most treacherous because there's no railings on the outfield.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
That's the one where only a few people are allowed to go. Three-two pitch misses, ball 4. That could be the end of Stanek's evening as he walks his second batter to go along with 3 strikeouts. And here comes Kevin Cash with the lefty Brian McCann due up. He will go to the lefty out of his bullpen, and we'll be back after this.
players reveal their inner superhero, and the Astros look beyond the AL West. All that and more on a brand new Astros Bases Loaded tomorrow at 5, only on AT&T Sportsnet. You know how you feel like a superhero is you go all the way up to the A ring. That's where I'm going to be tomorrow.
No, you're not.
Why?
So because AJ said we had to.
The A ring is the highest ring of the 4.
He said we have to give it 100% effort. So if we're going up there, we have to go all the way. He also then later told me that he's afraid of heights. So we'll see how this whole thing works out tomorrow. Stay tuned.
I promise you, if he's afraid of heights, the A ring will not be ascended. It will not happen.
I'm saying 5 steps onto any of those catwalks, he's going to be in panic mode.
This is going to be the most uncomfortable he's ever been in an interview.
Brian McCann faces the new pitcher for Tampa Bay, Ryan Yarbrough.
I just want Julia to talk trash the entire time because she's done this before. She's a veteran. And AJ's going to be a little panicky. I want her to talk some smack. That'd be good. Video the whole thing.
Oh, we will.
There's a ball into center field for a base hit. Brian McCann has the Astros' first hit. The Rays are going to set the all-time record, by the way, for starters who leave the game with no hits allowed. As Stanek had one of those outings again tonight where he walked 2, but that's the plan when you have an opening starter. Just face a few hitters and then bring in the bullpen.
Yeah, there's smoke coming out of the computers here in Tampa Bay right now with the left on left, getting a base hit and breaking up the no-hitter.
Now here's Jake Marisnick.
Give AJ Hinch a little bit of credit too, putting a lefty in front of Jake, because a lot of times they'll bring in that left-handed pitcher to face a guy like Brian McCann, and if he does get on, it benefits Jake Marisnick, who has seen a lot of left-handed pitching this season.
Jake takes a called strike. Tyler White walked. Brian McCann with a single. Astros a little 2-out rally here in the second. That hits Marisnick, and the bases will be loaded for George Springer. So Yarbrough comes into the game and allows a single to McCann, and he hits Jake with the second pitch in that plate appearance.
Nobody up in the bullpen for the Tampa Bay Rays. This is on Yarbrough.
He's their long guy. That's their long guy.
Might have been a little bit of cut to that ball going in. Squared him up nicely on that left quad.
So George Springer bats with the bases loaded. This rally kind of came out of nowhere. And Yarbrough's been struggling here as he's missed on the last 3 deliveries. It's 1-0 to George. Still looking for his first hit of the season with the bases loaded. He's 0 for 8. But he does have 4 previous Grand Slams in his career.
Changeup, and back in 2014, George Springer got a changeup from David Price and absolutely punished it. Talking about all the rings here at Tampa Bay, and this one was launched. What ring is that, Todd?
He hit the D ring.
That was really far away.
That was headed towards the party deck up there, which hasn't been reached very often in Tropicana Field history. There you go. That's where he hit it. About as high as the top of the foul pole. He's down to the count here, 1-2. George stays alive.
George fighting. Yarbrough, fastball around 90, but he has some good secondary pitches. You've seen a couple of changeups so far. Also has a cut fastball. That's the one he hit Jake Marisnick with, and a slider. But it looks like it's pretty much fastballs inside and changeups away to George.
He'll throw those 3 pitches about equally, the fastball, the cutter, and the change. Oh, George, we've chronicled it. It's been a little bit of a battle for him lately, 1 for 26. And this would be a great opportunity for Springer to break out. This takes one line drive to get you back on the right track. In on his hands, checked his swing and fouled it.
was the cutter. This season, George is hitting .230 with runners in scoring position.
Tyler White on third, Brian McCann on second, Jake Marisnik on first. Wouldn't mind seeing a ball in the gap, see if Jake can catch McCann as they get to home plate.
Just push him across home plate. Just don't go all Brad Peacock on me.
Springer pushing Brad Peacock in a game right around this time last year in Atlanta. Peacock would be safe, Springer would be out. Now it's 3-2. George was down in the count, hasn't chased on the 1-2 or 2-2 count. So everybody will be off their respective bases with 2 outs and a full count.
Yeah, this could get interesting real quick. A lot of change ups. Does Yarbrough stay with it, or does he try and bring the fastball in there? Either way, I believe you're risking damage if you leave this pitch up in the zone. Cutter.
George hanging in there with some foul balls on the cutters. We'll do it again with everybody off with 2 outs. Swing and a miss. Springer goes down swinging for the final out of the second inning. We head to the bottom of the second, still scoreless.
Junior gets back to work, a native of Tampa, Florida. A standout at Jesuit High around here. And Jesuit, guys, had a couple of ball players come out of this program. A very good baseball program. It's also where the curveball started for Lance, who, you know, started pitching really late. And before his junior season, he actually got some advice from Jeff Getz, who was the pitching assistant, but had been drafted out of that high school in 1997, played in the minors some, but he was a left-hander, had a great curveball, and so when Lance was starting to pitch, he actually taught him the grip, and it was a spike curveball in the beginning, and Lance said it was really awkward for him, but he started to mess around with it, and then he got his own grip. Went to the minors, had terrible fastball command, and so started throwing that curveball a lot, learned how to shape it differently, slow it down, throw it harder, and that's where he is today, and that's how the curveball kind of evolved for him over the years. But started late right there in Tampa, and of course going to have tons of friends and family here. His wife making the trip, Kara, very excited to be back in their hometown. They actually got married here. It's just they really have some strong ties, even though they make Houston their home now. They're happy to be back.
Yeah, he's a guy that's pitched a couple times here. Each year maturing a little more. He's kind of been a little overamped maybe in his first start or two.
He can be excitable.
Yeah. Ball chopped towards Tyler White. A couple big hops and Lance covers. But I think Lance, it'll be interesting to see what he does today. You know, we see him at times this year where he's been into some trouble or been in some early situations with runners on base, and he seems to be able to reboot maybe better than he's done in the past and not let one play lead to the next. And now that he's all of the ripe age of 24.
Got to keep reminding ourselves of that, especially me, because I've had a chance to watch Lance pitch his entire big league career. And being so impressed early on, the one thing that kind of got away from him might have been the emotion sometimes and the consistency in that delivery. And a part of the problem is, too, when we've seen him right, he is dominant. And unfortunately, you want to see that every time a guy goes out there with the stuff that Lance has. And it's been interesting to watch him this year because that curveball's gotten away from him a little bit. He hasn't thrown very many changeups in this ball game so far, but that changeup's been a great pitch for him recently. But it looks like tonight it's a little more of the breaking ball.
Yeah, he's been heavy fastball, curveball so far, and throwing strikes. He's ahead 0-2, facing Joey Wendell. 4 ground ball out so far for Lance McCullers Jr. And a 3-pitch strikeout, getting Wendell on the breaking ball. First strikeout of the game for McCullers, 2 away in the second.
And if he's doing that kind of stuff right there like he just did to Wendell, down in the zone with his pitches and good break on the curveball, it's going to be a rough evening.
I'll bring up C.J. Cron. We mentioned some major leaguers have come out of Tampa Jesuit. Jason Michaels.
Oh yeah, J-Mike.
J-Mike.
Ex-Astro.
Still lives in this area. Dave Magadan.
Mags was a hitting coach for me in San Diego and now in Arizona.
Brad Radke went to Tampa Jesuit.
Got nothing on him.
So they've had some.
Gary Sheffield somewhere down here in Tampa too.
Yeah, Sheff went. Freddie McGriff went to Jefferson. Sheff went. I'll have to look that one up. He might have gone.
There were some strong athletes coming out of Tampa Bay.
Your former manager here, Lou Piniella.
What a guy.
Tampa guy. Still lives in the area. Shane Robinson was a Tampa Jesuit guy. So a lot of major leaguers, including Lance McCullers Jr. 1-2 pitch, slowly hit towards third. Alex Bregman has it, and Lance has another strong inning. 1-2-3 inning with a couple of ground outs and a strikeout.
Good one. So get on Twitter, follow us at ATT Sportsnet SW. We want you to pick which Astros historical duo would you choose to hit 3 and 4 in your starting lineup. Goodness gracious. Joe Morgan, Lance Berkman, Cesar Cedeno, and Jeff Bagwell, Jose Cruz, Carlos Correa. This is fun. I like it. The duo that's fun to watch right now, Alex Bregman, Evan Gattis. I talked about them earlier, guys. 56 RBI so far in the month of June.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Alex sent one deep to left field his first time up. Malik Smith made a great catch jumping in front of the wall. He wasn't sure exactly where the wall was, but he figured if Bregman hit it, might be going to the wall or over it.
Anticipating getting back there deep.
Bregman has been locked in for his last 10 at bats as he takes a little cutter inside from Ryan Yarborough in his first full inning of work. Yarborough picked up the final out of the second inning, but also hit a batter and allowed a single. By the way, Gary Sheffield looked it up in the break. Hillsborough High School right across the bridge. The Hillsborough Terriers. Always good football teams over there, but Shep was a Tampa guy. Dwight Gooden was from here in St. Pete. So yeah, a lot of talent coming out of here.
Yeah, you can put together an all-star team of guys that have come out of this area.
3-1 to count. It'll be Bregman, Altuve, and Reddick this inning. And ball 4. Yarborough has been kind of searching for that command here at first 4 batters he has faced. Top RBI duos in a single month in franchise history. Remember,
Vinny K.
Vinny Castilla. Vinny Castilla has the longest recorded home run in Tropicana Field history.
Nice.
He and Jeff Bagwell combined for 64 runs batted in July of 2001.
Operation Shutdown was Operation Output that year.
Saw the other list, and those guys still have 3 days to add to those totals. Here's Altuve.
That's what's pretty amazing. Seeing 2 guys go out and get 56 RBIs and still be behind those guys is impressive.
Ground ball sharply hit, and that's the only way you can turn 2 with Altuve's speed. Nicely done around the horn. Duffy to Wendell to Jake Bowers, and Altuve hits into a double play. Astros hit into a lot of double plays. They have been going back and forth with Kansas City for the major league lead in that category.
Oh, they're leading. They have 81 now.
Stepping up the pace.
Yep, coming into tonight, the Royals had 77.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're starting to break away a little bit. Separation.
Josh Reddick takes a pitch inside for a ball. It kind of goes hand in hand with a couple of things. The fact that they're not striking out much lately, and the fact that they are putting a lot of runners on base.
Yeah, they are tied with the Chicago Cubs in Major League Baseball coming into tonight's game as far as on-base percentage at .338.
So they're getting on base, they're not striking out, and sometimes with traffic, you hit a ball sharply at an infielder, you're going to get a double play. Reddick the other way. Duffy has this ground ball, and Yarborough through the third, a walk, a double play, and a ground out.
Kids Day, an Altuve Youth replica jersey, and a Verlander K counter bobblehead. Visit astros.com/promotions for tickets and a full list of events. The Verlander strikeout bobblehead will be nice. The Altuve replica jersey, encouraging all those youngsters who play baseball. Doesn't matter your size, speed, or strength. If you're good at the game, you can make it.
Man, that is going to be a hot item.
Big time.
So that'll be our final homestand leading into the All-Star break after this road trip. Lance McCullers starts the third inning off. He has been very good so far, facing Malik Smith, Carlos Gomez, and Willy Adames, the bottom three in their order. Astros will have played 99 games by the time they get to the All-Star break this year. Last year that number was 89.
Don't mess with your head a little bit. A couple extra off days mixed in there, but the season's starting earlier if they keep that All-Star game right around the same time every year. So getting out of the gates early mean a lot more games early on, but it's just amazing to come. We will come back from that All-Star break, and it's going to be a full-out sprint to the end.
Yeah, come back, play game 100. Here's a ball softly hit towards Altuve, who backs up on it and makes the play. Smith retired for out number one in the third. Not only is the season starting earlier, but the Astros, with the new built-in off days, have more of the off days slated in the second half of the season. So only one team has played more games in the major leagues than the Houston Astros, and that's San Diego. Padres have played 83. The Astros have played 82. A couple teams have played 82. Texas has played that many, but San Diego's the most, and the Astros just one game back. So it will be a sprint, and then of course once you get back from the All-Star break, then there's only a few weeks left in the trading deadline, so that will spur some interest this year. There are some definite separations, especially in the American League, between those that are going to be vying for the postseason and those that are looking to build for the future. As Carlos Gomez fouls one away, it's 1-2. So I think because the buyers are going to be fewer this year, that could be an advantage for a team like the Astros.
Never really thought of it that way, but you could be right. That could really help them not have to unload as much to try and get some of those guys. Find a team that isn't getting many hits on a guy and go out and make a bid. But I feel like some of the guys that are going to be wanted by some of those top tier teams that could use the help.
I mean, right now it appears, certainly things can change, but right now it appears Cleveland would be the likely candidate to win the American League Central. Boston and New York feel pretty comfortable about their chances to make the postseason. And the last two teams will come from the Astros division. That's how it appears now. Seattle winning another one-run game last night. Seattle's now won 25 one-run games. For the first time in the history of baseball, a team won 25 one-run games in their first 81 contests. 3-2 the count to Gomez.
Hence the reason they won't go away.
42 is the all-time record for one-run victories. That has a chance to be shattered. On the ground, foul. Gomez coming in batting .199. He's been better lately, batting .323 after a 1-for-23 stretch. .323 his last 10. Right now, Seattle has a comfortable cushion over Oakland. The Angels are going in the wrong direction. They've lost 5 in a row.
It's always the injury issue, I feel like, with the Anaheim Angels.
George Springer backs up on that ball that was slicing off the bat of Gomez and puts it away for out number 2.
It's the first out in the air.
Yep.
A lot of ground balls from Lance McCullers today. He's turned into kind of a ground ball monster here in the last 2 years.
In a different sense, it feels Lance is very much in control tonight. We saw Charlie be electric with his stuff in that start, so we knew early on it might be a big strikeout game. Not necessarily going to be a huge strikeout game from what we've seen, but he feels very comfortable out there. It looks like he's putting pitches where he wants and sequencing well.
And early, too. That's the biggest key for Lance McCullers. He can be great one at bat. Literally, the next guy steps in, and it could turn into some issues with the release point, but he has been very consistent and effective inside the zone.
Ground ball, foul. Lance ahead of the count once again. It's 0-2.
And it'll be interesting the second time through the lineup because he has been effective early on with the fastball in the zone. Will Tampa Bay be more aggressive? We have seen some swings early on, but now they've got that first AB out of the way. Maybe pick the ball up a little bit better off of Lance, but it'd also be interesting to see if Lance goes to the off speed earlier second time through.
And he hasn't thrown the changeup too much tonight.
Yeah, there you go.
That could be a bigger weapon second time around.
That was the third one he threw this game right there. But you're right. That's the beauty of Lance McCullers, too, with that changeup now. It's a third pitch that he has to mix in there and the third pitch that a hitter has to think about.
There's the first hit of the game. Willie Adames on a 1-2 pitch singles into center field. Adames reaches base with Tampa Bay's first hit.
Curveball kind of stopped in the zone, didn't really have that sharp late bite to it. Still not a bad location, but a good job by Adames to go out there and get it, punch it right back up the middle.
That'll bring up Kevin Kiermaier, who was initially ruled safe at first base by Vic Carapazza. Upon further review, New York realized that Lance McCullers had, in fact, made contact with the bag with the ball in his glove just before Kiermaier got there, so it turned into a ground out. One and one the count. Tampa Bay, winners of 5 in a row, currently one game under 500 as they approach the midway point of the season. Tonight is their 80th game while the Astros play their 83rd game. Try to hold up, but he goes around. It's 1-2. Top two teams have been there setting the pace the whole way, Boston and New York. The Astros with the same number of wins as Boston, one more loss. 54 and 28 coming in. And the Rays, Toronto, and Baltimore. Orioles have had a very difficult year. They're already 34 games under 500. No chase there from Kiermaier. It's 2-2. Exactly 2/3 of the pitches from Lance tonight have been strikes, 28 of the 42. Runner on the go, and it doesn't matter. Kiermaier goes down swinging. McCullers picks up a strikeout to end the third. Second strikeout for Lance. BBVA Compass are available for kids 12 and under. Buddies receive 4 tickets to an Astros regular season game, a backpack, cap, socks, and exclusive benefits throughout the year for just $25 plus tax. Visit astros.com/buddies today to sign up. Evan Gattis swings at the first pitch of the 4th inning. McDuffie nicely to his left, high throw, but Bowers able to come down on the bag for out number 1. Gattis now 0 for 2 tonight. Going to bring up Marwin Gonzalez. Yarborough, one of those guys who is the longer of the relievers, if you will, once he comes into the game. When you have the opening starter getting just a few outs, they usually turn it over to a guy as their second or third pitcher that'll give them a little more length. Case Yarborough. We also saw others used in that role in that last series of Minute Maid Park. Matt Andrees also can soak up some innings. Yarborough misses to Marwin. It's 1-1. Marwin struck out looking his first time up. Ryan Stanek faced the first 7 batters, allowed a couple of walks and struck out 3. Marwin slicing one towards right. Back goes Gomez, and he'll make the play as he backpedals onto the warning track for out number 2. Pretty well hit by Marwin, but at the Rays right fielder.
It is time to play Name That Astro, brought to you by Nissan. Tampa native Astros brothers, Ted, number 2. If you know who that Astro is, make sure you tweet your answers to @ATT Sportsnet SW, and make sure you stay tuned throughout the broadcast because we are going to reveal that Astro later in this show.
Here's Tyler White. White walked his first time up. Good plate appearance. He was able to foul off some 2-strike pitches before drawing that walk. He was the last batter Ryan Stanek faced. I've got Named That Astro. Give me the Tampa natives, I'll get it.
Man, oh man, we finally found your pocket.
It's not Lance McCullers.
Perfect pocket. Tampa guesses.
2-1 the count. I'm going to say most people on Twitter will have that. I'm going to say a high percentage of fans. Get that Name That Astro.
Yep.
3-1 the count to Tyler White. Tough thing to do for Tyler, and we've seen this happen with others coming up from Fresno. Here's a guy at the AAA level who had an OPS over 1,000, just absolutely raking it in the Pacific Coast League, and then he comes up here and he gets start every 5 days, 6 days, pinch hit appearance here and there.
Yeah, it's not easy to do at all.
He's done a good job though being patient. They're going to say he went around on that one though. Vic Carapazza rings him up on the check swing, and Tyler can talk to him about it after this half inning when he goes to play first.
June is your chance to show your spirit. Use hashtag UltimateSWFanARK on Twitter to show us, and you could win a VIP experience. So tweet now and win big.
We go to the bottom half of the fourth inning. Matt Duffy, Jake Bauers, Wilson Ramos, the 2, 3, and 4 hitters in the Tampa Bay lineup due up. Duffy grounded to second his first time up. I mentioned when Ryan Stanek was on the mound that he and Dallas Keuchel, speaking of Arkansas, probably weren't too happy last night. There was a chance for the Razorbacks to wrap up the College World Series on a foul pop-up. It fell in between 3 fielders. And Oregon State would go on to tie the game in that inning and then win it to force a game 3 and deciding game tonight for the College World Series. That's a tough one if Arkansas doesn't win tonight and they're down 3-0 in their game tonight, because there was literally a chance. It would have been a good catch for any of those 3 guys, but there was a chance on a pop-up to wrap it up and just fell in.
It's amazing how those things can come back to haunt you.
1-2 pitch bounces in there. It's 2-2. Astros haven't scored in their first 4 innings tonight. That's nothing new, and the Rays continue their scoreless streak. Now to 24 consecutive innings without allowing a run. Ground ball hit to short. Marwin is there. And that's 1 out.
Tell you what, it's new for us, because that's one thing the Astros do on the road is score often. But that last road trip, we saw them scoring early too, giving their pitchers some pretty healthy leads early on and then just cruising through some of those ball games. But a lot of it has to do with timing when you come through and face some of these teams, and the Rays pitching is doing extremely good of late.
If you take this streak back to the last Yankees game before the Nationals were in town, it's now 26 innings in a row that they've rolled out no runs. AJ Hinch has made it into the bottom of the 4th today. That's longer than he made it last time the Astros were here at Tropicana Field. 1-0 the count to Jake Bauers. AJ was ejected in the final game of that series between the Astros and the Rangers, as the Astros were the home team here at Tropicana Field, displaced because of Hurricane Harvey. Bauers around the bunt with the shift and takes a called strike. It's 1-2. Will be the final day of August last year, which turned out to be the day that Cameron Maben and Justin Verlander became Astros. Curveball, swing and a miss. Bauers goes down swinging for out number 2.
Now that was an emotional roller coaster. That trip alone, having to play some of these games down here after the Hurricane Harvey situation, getting off that plane and realizing that they were in intense talks and trying to acquire Justin Verlander, and then waking up the next morning to realize it had happened. Unbelievable.
Changed the whole course of the postseason around for the Astros. Here's Lance McCullers facing Wilson Ramos. Ground ball. Nice play, Tyler White. He'll flip it to Lance covering. And Lance with a 1-2-3-4. He has allowed just 1 base runner so far in a scoreless game. last year when the Astros were playing a series against the Texas Rangers, originally scheduled for Houston. Hurricane Harvey moved it. At one point, the Astros thought they might play in Arlington. That did not work out, so they ended up here in St. Petersburg, Florida. And a tip of the cap to the Rays organization and all those people that worked that series really on a moment's notice. The Astros came here in a very difficult time, and people here in the Tampa Bay area really did a nice job.
No, Tampa Bay did an incredible job welcoming us in, setting up everything. It's not easy to do, and at the spur of the moment too. So we really, it's good to get back and see them under normal circumstances. They were great to us, but an opportunity to reflect on a tough time for the Houston Astros. We didn't want to be here, kind of forced into the situation to come down here and play some baseball, but the Astros handled it great, and the Tampa Bay Rays handled it graciously.
Yeah, nobody knew exactly what was going on during that trip. They knew that there was a series scheduled. For a while there, the Rays hanging out in the Dallas Metroplex area, thinking they were going to play against the Rangers there, and then flying to Florida after that. And staying in Tampa, as it turns out, but playing 3 games here in St. Petersburg. Donations were made for the Hurricane Harvey efforts for fans that showed up here at Tropicana Field. So it was a difficult situation no matter what, as we welcome in Julie Morales with her thoughts on what transpired here last year.
Yeah, as those images popped up on the screen, that's what I remember about that series, are the fans. There were a lot of Astros jersey shirts that were being worn that day, so there were some Astros fans that were in town, but the Tampa Bay fans that had showed up and made signs was really touching. And like you mentioned, all the money they were raising very quickly. I mean, it had just happened. It was going through Houston, and we were watching it all on all the TVs. And as many great memories were made in 2017 in that season, that was one really tough week for this team and these players, and it's almost not fair to say that it was just a tough week with all that's still going on for some of the families who were impacted by Harvey. But that's what I remember, and AJ Hinch made sure to express his thoughts, and so appreciative so many months later of what they were able to do, making them feel like the home team when it came down to just the clubhouse, and these guys rolled in and they were ready for him on such short notice. So a lot of memories. It is a part of the story of 2017, and one that we will all remember, and this being a big one. But definitely some feelings coming through, not just myself, but I know you guys included in this team as we walked in the doors today.
Yeah, to say the least. And it was an interesting time all the way around. Guys in the truck were having their issues trying to get some of the technology going for us. And then Sparky was calling radio solo. Robert Ford in Anaheim had an emergency appendectomy and was unable to make the trip. So Todd got stuck in the booth by himself for a couple innings while we were kind of rotating over trying to pick up Steve Sparks on the radio side. Patchwork together some of those games. So it was kind of a group effort. And I just remember a picture we took on the bus heading to the airport in Tampa Bay to finally get back into Houston. And that was really the time you kind of took a deep breath and said, wow, you know, we did something pretty special.
Jake Marisnick gets into one deep to left field. Home run! Jake Marisnick, and the Astros take a 1-0 lead on Jake's 7th home run of the year.
Speaking of something special, Jake from Rake Farms got his gray khakis on. Astros on the board.
Jake has been hitting the ball better lately. He's now 9 for his last 22, a couple of home runs in that mix. And he put that ball deep into the seats in left field. Here's George Springer fouling one back.
Jake leaning back, missed on a couple off-speed pitches earlier in this AB, and they tried to bust him in. Said nope. Immediately Wilson Ramos reaching back for a baseball. He knew that sound off the bat of Jake.
It's crazy when you think about how this game goes. Jake Marisnick for a while so frustrated couldn't buy a hit. Now all of a sudden he's going well. As we mentioned, 9 for his last 22. And his good buddy George Springer during that time when Jake was struggling was having his greatest games of his season, including a 6-hit game in Oakland. And now kind of they pass each other, and now Jake's kind of hitting and George is struggling. So It's a game over 162. You're not going to be on top of your game for all the season unless you're HOU AT TBA somehow. But for most mortals, you're not going to be on top of your game all the season, and you just have to battle through the tough times and wait for the good ones. As George sends one into left field, and he is out number 2.
Yeah, Jake's been having a heck of a time here in recent days, but how about HOU AT TBA? The shot we had in the dugout, he's going up and talking to Jake. Hey, what do you got? But it's been good off the bat of Justice Smoke. This was a great play, posterizing Josh Reddick out there in left center field to take away that potential extra base hit. We know he can do it on defense, but right here with a 3-2 count, stayed back on an off-speed pitch from Meza and punished it into those left field bleachers.
Today putting a home run out against Yarbrough as he misses to Alex Bregman. That was only the second hit allowed by Ryan Yarbrough. And the Rays on the board, or the Astros on the board first. Strike called to Bregman. It's 1-1. Bregman has flied out deep to left field and also walked. That one's up, and it's 2-1. Bregman hits one hard to left field. Malik Smith plays it on a hop. That ball came off the bat hot of Alex Bregman with a 2-out single.
That's all he's been doing here recently in the month of June, is just taking pitches out of the zone, and if they are in the zone and he feels like he's ready to smash it, he does. Good job of letting that ball travel. That line drive came off the bat as fast as Jake Marisnick's home run at 102 miles an hour.
Wow. Just a little different launch angle, huh?
Yeah, Jake's home run, the launch angle was 33 degrees. That line drive was at 14 degrees off the bat of Alex.
So some well-struck baseballs here from 2 of the last 3 hitters in HOU AT TBA bats. Altuve has walked and grounded into a double play.
Our matches from Supermo, you can see the foot getting down, the hands are back, and then the recognition ensues, and he lets that ball get right off that front edge of the plate, right at the contact, usually right around that front foot. I talk about that right elbow kind of being bent at that 90-degree angle. When you get to contact and then just firing through it.
Bregman on the move. Altuve into right field. That's going to drop in front of Gomez. Bregman will go first to third with 2 outs. Gomez fumbles the ball momentarily, but now gets the ball back in. Altuve, a single to right. The Astros have 2 runners on with 2 outs.
Just fight it off. Keep the line moving.
Snyder will come out, the pitching coach for the Tampa Bay Rays, to have a word with his young left-hander Yarbrough. Astros had 1 hit coming into this inning, and now 3 of the last 4 hitters with base hits. Josh Reddick, who was 10 for his last 18 at the plate. Josh tonight, though, flied out to left and grounded out to third, 0 for 2.
See the Astros capitalize. Some 2-out lightning right here. Add to that lead.
Pitch low. It's 1-0. Reddick had pushed that average all the way up to 274 before this game.
Might be the extra sauce on his helmet.
Yeah, it's always a little spicy. Sharply hit foul.
Josh has been swinging the bat well. Last 14 games, 435 batting average at OPS at 906. Couple of big hits, driving in some runs back home. We know he's been comfortable there. But getting that bat going, talk so much about Gaddis and Bregman that Josh Reddick has kind of flown under the radar with a 435 average.
Altuve's picked off, and now he's going to try and get in a rundown. Coming in is Bregman to try and score. Now he'll be caught in a rundown, and Alex will be tagged out. The Astros run themselves into the final out of the inning. Halfway home, but the Astros did take the lead that inning.
Yeah, it was off the bat of Jake Marisnick. A little hanging slider out over the plate, and he turned on it, put it out there here at Tropicana Field to put the Astros ahead 1-0 in the fifth.
McCullers Jr. working with a lead for the first time as he faces Joey Wendell to lead off the bottom half of the fifth inning. Wendell struck out his first time up, one of 3 strikeouts for McCullers in this game. Astros taking a 1-0 lead on the Jake Marisnick home run in the top half of this inning. Wendell hits a ground ball towards White. Lance has had to cover first a few times, including the very first batter. Gets over there again. That's his 4th putout today. It's a high number for a pitcher. There's one away in the fifth. Well, Lance's 2 previous starts against Tampa Bay have both come here at Tropicana Field. Well, you mentioned earlier Lance attending Tampa Jesuit High School across the bridge, but 4 runs allowed in both of those starts. In 2015 and 2016 did not start against Tampa Bay last year, and he's been on a good roll lately.
It's good company to be around. Those guys would be good opening starters. Or opening pitchers. I keep using the phrase wrong. Not used to it.
I'm still okay. I don't even know if I want to go down this road. I guess I have to.
Be careful how you set me up.
No, because I don't think they have 2 distinctions. The 1-0 pitch to Crone hits it. Second batter to reach base for the Tampa Bay Rays as Lance hits Crone with a 1-0 pitch. So they have opening pitchers such as today Ryan Stanek, who you're not expected to go very long, and then it turns into a bullpen day. But then they designate bullpen day as the days when they have a reliever starting a game, but they expect him to go through the lineup once or twice, a little deeper. To me, and this is just me, you flip the terminology. Bullpen day should be a day like today, because it's a true bullpen day. You're using all your guys. Stanek's out there for anywhere from 5 to 7 batters we've seen the last 2 times he's faced Houston. I don't know. Like I said, it was probably not worth going down that road. But they have weird terminology here. Let's just put it that way. They have bullpen days like Saturday, and they have opening starter days like today. And they make a distinction in their team notes about which is which. But today feels like a bullpen day. You with me or no? Have I gone too far? 0-2 the count to Alex Smith as we carry forward.
You say so?
No. I'm just over here chatting by myself.
It's not like you're trying to talk yourself into bullpen days or not. I'm with you. It's just interesting that they go out and do that, and then so that gives them the right to call it what they want or signify when it is an opening start.
Because no one's really done this before, they can kind of create their own terminology, I guess. That's what they're going with. Smith grounded out his first time up and swings through that curveball. McCullers another strikeout of the power curve. That's 4 away. And then the other day, Blummer,
yeah,
the opening pitcher's not enough. Kevin Cash had a lefty, Jose Alvarado pitching, and then a righty was batting after the first batter, Bryce Harper, walked, and he put Alvarado at first so that Chaz Rowe could face the righty.
And how did Bryce Harper stay at first base? I would have been taking off running and daring Alvarado to make a play on me.
I was surprised that Harper didn't try.
But he snuck through it, and I would have given anything to have Alvarado throw a pitch with the first baseman's glove on.
Alvarado borrowed Jake Bauer's glove and went back to the mound. The irony of that whole situation is over the span of 4 hitters for the Nationals, 3 of them were left-handed with Rendon in the middle of that. So Rowe came in, struck out Rendon, but the 3 lefties that Alvarado faced all had base hits. And then they went to Sergio Romo, who got the last 2 outs without allowing a run. As the Rays were able to hold on and win that game 1-0 against the Nationals and Max Scherzer. But so they'll try about everything here.
Yeah, be ready.
It's unconventional.
They're lucky to have a guy like Kevin Cash, by the way. You know, he was a great teammate, good catcher throughout the big leagues. But to have a guy who can pretty much adapt to some of the situations you throw at him is pretty impressive. And it's a real credit to Kevin Cash, not only being open to it, but being able to make it work.
Well, it's a combination of things. You have to sell it to your own team.
Yeah.
That's not easy. And then you have to buy in to the point where you're explaining it to the media and defending it because, and there are some people.
You really have to understand it, yeah.
Brian Kenny of MLB Network, this is his like favorite thing ever that they're trying this, but
that's why he's on TV and not in the front office, but whatever.
But Cash is, he knows what he's dealing with here, and he knows he doesn't have the 4 starters. He doesn't have the Dallas Keuchels and the Lance McCullers Jr.'s and Charlie Mortons and Justin Verlander.
Yeah, you're right. It's a unique situation here in this market with the team that he has. But I think it also points to something else that is brand new or a different age of baseball that we keep talking about, is that the manager has to be an intermediary between GM, analytics, and management, and then team and players. You know, he has to understand what they're doing, and then he has to get in the clubhouse and explain it to these guys, and like you said, sell it to them, have them buy in, and have guys that are able to go out there and be willing to execute the game plan that they have going. That's why I say it's going to be hard if you plan on bringing in any kind of free agent guys and convince them that, hey, you know what, we're going to only have 2 or 3 starters, and then other than that, we're going to kind of mix and mash our bullpen and opening starter guys the following way. And the only reason I say that is because guys play baseball because they love it, yes, but they also play it to make money and create a career. And I'm not sure that opening starters is a way to create a career other than in Tampa Bay right now.
1-2 pitch. McCullers after the meeting on the mound strikes out Carlos Gomez with a breaking ball. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Lance, 5 in the game, and the Astros lead 1-0. Sportsnet is presented by Rooms to Go. Don't miss over 100 hot buys going on now. Great values in every department. And by Ram Trucks, built to serve. Always love pitcher and catcher meetings after an inning. Lance McCullers feeling pretty good about things so far as he has a one-hit shutout going through 5 as the Astros will have Josh Reddick back at the plate. Josh was batting last inning with runners on first and third and 2 outs, and Altuve and Bregman got caught off the bases. Altuve first, and then Bregman trying to help out would be retired for the final out. Reddick flies out to Carlos Gomez for out number 1 in the 6th. Yarbrough's done a nice job for Kevin Cash and the Rays tonight. He's allowed just that 1 run. Came in struggling a little bit with the strike zone, but has walked 1. He has hit a batter. And he has struck out 2, now facing Evan Gattis. Gattis already setting the team record for RBIs in a month, has 3 more games, including tonight, to add to that total of 30. Evan also leading all of baseball in RBIs this month. One and 1 the count. Yarbrough is a guy who grew up nearby in Lakeland, just about an hour to the east of Tampa. Fan of some of those early successful Rays teams, and Scott Kazmir was one of his favorites. Still has a Scott Kazmir jersey that he got when he was a 15-year-old pitching at the high school level.
It's kind of cool.
Kaz still hangs around in the Houston area a little bit.
Yeah, wish I knew him a little bit better so we could go play Blue Jack together.
Kaz, if you're listening,
yeah,
ground ball.
Remember me?
Ground ball towards short. Willie Thomas makes the play for out number 2. Speaking of hosting, you can host clients or celebrate a special occasion at an Astros game. Minute Maid Park offers fans a variety of premium seating opportunities, including club and suite levels for any group size. Visit astros.com/suites or call 1-877-9-ASTROS to reserve your luxury suite today.
Kaz was one of the highlights of that 04 season. He got traded over from the New York Mets. He came on pretty strong with that great fastball. He had a phenomenal slider.
Oh,
I mean, literally a wipeout slider.
led the league in strikeouts one year with Tampa Bay. Yeah, he was traded for Victor Zambrano at the time the Mets wanted a veteran arm to try and make a push. And Kazmir ended up being one of the better pitchers in franchise history here in Tampa Bay. Marwin Gonzalez bats with 2 outs and nobody on. Marwin struck out and also lined out to right. That ball is in the left field for a hit. Sounded like a broken bat, but Marwin will take the trade-off as he's a 2-out base runner with a single to left.
Alex Cintron's going, hey, just break your bat every time. Turns out to be a hit. I'll buy you more bats.
Cintron over in the first base coach's box has done a nice job over there this year. Richie Dower, who was the first base coach, retired at the end of the 2017 World Championship season. Not only is AJ Hinch going to have his coaching staff at the All-Star game, but they're also bringing Richie back for that All-Star game, and that'll be a cool moment for Rich Dower and also for the Astros coaching staff to see him once again.
Such a great gesture. We saw a lot of emotion from Richie Dower throwing out the first pitch in that opening series back in Minute Maid Park to start the season. That was great stuff, but he'll be extremely proud to put the uniform back on and sit next to AJ.
Be here sooner than you know it. All-Star game will be coming up in just 2.5 weeks. Guy behind the plate for Tampa Bay continues to lead catchers in voting. Wilson Ramos. Jose Altuve leading everybody at any position in votes overall. Tyler White down on the count 0-2 and punches one down the right field side. That's a base hit. Marwin going first to third, and now he's going to hold up as Carlos Gomez makes a strong throw, a little bit off target, but almost on the line to third base, and Marwin decided to hold up.
It's a good thing that he was over the head of the cutoff man, because Adames could have cut that off and thrown behind Marwin Gonzalez. Tyler White getting on the board, just kind of poking that one the other way. A pitch well off the outside corner. Change up, but off the end of the bat, takes a lot of the steam off the ball and drops it in front of Carlos Gomez, who saw Marwin Gonzalez thinking about it, but see where Marwin is? Good quarter, almost halfway off that bag as the ball goes over the shortstop's head.
Here's Brian McCann. He was the first batter Yarbrough faced. He singled up the middle against him. Astros wouldn't mind a repeat of that. 6 hits now for Houston, 5 of them in the last 2 innings. Pitch is a called strike. Into center field, slicing. Kiermaier's there, puts it away. Hit hard by McCann, but at the Rays center fielder for the final out of the inning. From iTunes or Google Play, or visit attsportsnet.com to stream on your computer. Log in with your cable account and you're all set. Available for those with AT&T Sportsnet in their TV subscription. Blackouts and territorial restrictions do apply. Bottom half of the 6th inning, Lance McCullers facing Willie Adames, who has the only hit of the game for the Rays. And the top of the order. Adames grounds one towards the middle. Marwin nicely to his left, makes a fine defensive play. That ball looked like a hit for most of the way through the infield, and Marwin scooped it up for the first out.
Great play. And again, we talk so much about Marwin moving all over this ballpark and doing a good job. Here's a good indication of that, knowing that Carlos Correa going on the deal, he's going to get some more time over there. He is a natural shortstop and a natural athlete which helps him move that far to the left and be able to spin and show off that strong arm.
Now bring up Kevin Kiermaier. Kiermaier bluffs the bunt and takes a pitch up high. Lance was coming off the mound to help out Alex Bregman on the left side of the infield. He points to Dallas Keuchel and he said, good call. Maybe Dallas told him to be careful of the bunt. Now a swing and a miss. It's 1-1. Bullpen action going for Tampa Bay. That is the right-hander Chaz Rowe warming up. Ground ball towards the shift. Marwin will have an easier play this time. Throws it over his buddy Altuve's head for out number 2. Well, if you're just joining us and you missed the news earlier, Carlos Correa will go on the DL. Will be retroactive, so Carlos will miss the rest of this road trip, but we should see Carlos back when the Astros are back into town on July 5th. Here's Matt Duffy. Astros will start an 11-game homestand, the longest homestand of the year, 1 week from tonight. Duffy takes a pitch down low for a ball, 1-0. A couple of ground outs from Matt Duffy tonight, 1 to second, 1 to short. Lance has 11 ground ball outs and 5 strikeouts, counting for 16 of the 17 outs tonight. Only Carlos Gomez with a fly ball to right, the only out in the air.
It's been the model of efficiency. It's good to see from Lance.
He's been really good early on tonight. It seems like he has been commanding his pitches down to the count here and then drops in a curveball for a strike. It's 2-1. Another good breaking ball and another called strike.
Nice pitch. Matt Duffy's seen a pretty interesting mix of pitches. He's seen 7 changeups, only 3 fastballs, and now 4 curveballs from Lance McCullers.
Now the count's full. So that would tell me the book tonight on Duffy is don't let him beat you with a fastball.
Yep. We saw him do a good job of it back in Minute Maid Park.
Goes with the curveball and he's able to send it into right field for a base hit. Second hit of the night for Tampa Bay, both singles.
I think a lot of people got this one right, but it's time to name that Astro, brought to you by Nissan. Tampa native Astros brothers Ted 2. Who is it? Yeah, you know it. Kyle Tucker. Born in Tampa, attended Henry B. Plant High School. Brother of Preston Tucker, who played for the Astros in 2015 and 16. And I think he rakes. I'm just glad he's backing me up. I make some comments every now and then, and guys follow through on him. And Ted is definitely one of those guys. And the reason he rakes is why we call him Ted.
Had the nameplate in spring training on the locker.
I love it.
Plant High School, right across the bridge as well, where Preston and Kyle Ted Tucker attended. Here's Jake Bowers. Bowers is grounded out and struck out. Takes a pitch outside for ball 1. Lance has only had to work out of the stretch to 3 batters tonight. Alex Smith and Carlos Gomez in the 5th. And now Bowers with 2 outs in the 6th. Kiermaier also in the 3rd, so this is his 4th batter. Catches the edge. It's 1-1. Bowers hitting .412 his last 4 games, but 0 for 2 tonight. 1-2 the count. Lance has had a good strike to ball ratio of about 2/3 most of the night. About to make pitch number 80 in this start.
Talk about Lance pitching out of the stretch. I feel like that's the highest leverage situation he's been in all night, is having to pitch out of the stretch a couple of times. As you talk about the pitch efficiency in the strike zone with all three of his pitches too. He's throwing fastball, a lot of curveballs, kind of backed off on the changeup a little bit. But the idea of pitching to contact and getting so many ground ball outs has really benefited him getting this deep in the game, throwing only 80 pitches so far.
Bowers fights it off, stays 2-2. The pitches per inning very consistent. Lance will take an extra beat here. Breather behind the mound as he faces Bowers with 2 outs.
Might be a little bit of a regrouping too. The breaking ball that Duffy got a hit on, a little bit too good of a pitch in a 2-strike count. That pitch elevated up out over the plate in a 2-strike count. So maybe a conversation on what pitch to throw. Maybe McCann is reminding him how to get on top of that breaking ball and create a little more snap to it to get that swing and miss. And as well as Lance pitches to contact at times, it's still nice for, I'm sure, Lance to know that he has swing and miss stuff. Get those swings and misses in some key situations.
Pitch misses, the count runs full.
Might have been the conversation. What do you want to throw here? Curveball or a changeup? Lance opting for the changeup, or maybe Brian McCann talked him into it, but he executed a very good changeup, didn't get the call.
3-2, not as high a percentage this year as last, but still 80% curveballs to lefties on a 3-2 pitch. There's the curveball foul. Last year that percentage was around 90. That's his go-to. 3-2 lefties, you're going to see the breaking ball.
And knowing that, yet still hearing you say 90% is still amazing to me. He's not shy. Loves that curveball.
Runner on the move. This time he goes fastball and misses outside. That's the first batter for the Rays to reach second base. Matt Duffy gets to second on the walk to Bowers. I'll bring up Wilson Ramos. Ramos has grounded out to the first baseman Tyler White both times. Ground outs to start the inning, then a single by Matt Duffy with 2 outs, followed up by a walk to Bowers. And now McCullers down 1-0 to Wilson Ramos. Falling behind the cleanup hitter 2-0. missed the curveball. That's how good Lance feels about his curveball. 2-0 count. 2 on, 2 outs, and he throws it.
Yeah, Lance isn't going to give in and give you that cookie you're looking for in a 2-0 count. That's how he feels about that curveball, is that he can break it off, get that swing and miss, get the hitter out in front who might be guessing on that fastball.
Three and one. Lance sitting exactly at 100 pitches on the season right now with 5 2/3 tonight. Just past the halfway point of the year, and Lance's career high in innings pitched is 125 2/3.
Ramos saw a 2-0 curveball. Will he see a 3-1 curveball?
Yep.
Better believe it.
Now the count's full. Runners will be off. Matt Duffy off of second. Jake Bauers off of first. Lance McCullers hasn't had any big situations to this point. First runner into scoring position, but in a 1-0 game, this is his first big moment. Got him. Lance McCullers pumped up about that strikeout. Gets his 6th of the night and strands 2. Back to the power curve to get Ramos swinging for the final out of the inning.
And it's going to be Jake Marisnick, the only run on the board today, thanks to that swing right there in the 5th inning solo shot for Jake. He's coming off a nice series too. We saw him hit a huge homer a couple days ago, the 3-run home run, not to mention the glove. But good for Jake. Seems to be coming around and showing off some power lately.
Has been. He's been making better contact. He's had a couple of home runs during this stretch where he's 9 for his last 22 in his last dozen games. And he's not leaving the zone. I think maybe that's the biggest thing, is he was chasing a lot of pitches early in the season and seemingly down in the count all the time.
A lot of 0-2 counts led to a lot of strikeouts. The contact was a real issue.
Now he breaks his bat.
And it's a great thing. I mean, he worked himself into a 2-0 count. It's not a crush job, but it's still a base hit. He got himself a good pitch to hit. And you can be lucky sometimes. And it's good for Jake to get some of that luck.
On base for the 3rd consecutive time.
And a guy like Yarbrough's going out there, he's not going to give you that 4-seam fastball, a little bit of a cut fastball. And that's why you see some of the shards of the bat flying everywhere.
Well, Jake will have to be watched over there. He's got a couple steals this season. Now George Springer at the plate. Springer takes one outside for ball 1. George 0 for 3 tonight. couple weeks ago, George was batting .295, but he is 4 for his last 56, and has seen that average go down to .258. One and one to count. A couple of strikeouts and a flyout to left tonight. Ball hit foul the other way, and it's 1-2. I mentioned it earlier with Jake having troubles earlier. He's turned it around. Evan Gattis for about a month and a half didn't look like he was in a good place at the plate, and now he's the hottest hitter maybe in all of baseball. So it's just a matter of George to get it turned around, but right now it is a battle for him.
Baseball is a hard game, and it will make the best of players struggle at times, and you're seeing that right now. George is a phenomenal talent. He's got great strike zone command. He's actually stayed in the zone and taking his walks when he can get them, but you're getting a really good indication of how rough it can be when your timing is off. You're not picking the ball up out of the hand. There is concern when you step in the box. You're only human. When you're struggling and things aren't going the way you want, you have a tendency to overreact and panic a little bit sometimes, and I think we might be seeing just a little hint of it from George.
In on the hands foul, as he,
and then you do that.
Grounds one off his front leg.
My goodness. And you're just not safe. If you play this game long enough, you're not safe. You're going to struggle. You're going to find some moments where you're wondering if you chose the right sport. But at the same time, you're going to end up being like Evan Gattis, where you just go out and start raking. But did he do a little acting on this one? Oh, nicely done. Well played. But he's going to get out of it, and that's baseball. Yep. George is too good to be in these sustained slumps. You've got coaching staffs, you've got video. Sometimes it just takes one swing to get you out of that funk, and just a matter of time before George gets back on one of those streaks where we're very thankful to have him, like we always are.
There goes Jake. Pitch is grounded.
Making up for it now.
He's beating himself up. That one definitely got him.
Gosh. Hopefully that got more shoe than George.
On the ground, stopped by Yarbrough, makes the play to second. George beats the relay throw. Well, Yarbrough gets the lead runner Marisnik, and George able to beat out the return.
Time to get out and play. It's presented to you by Toyota. Alex Bregman, 4 career walk-off hits. That was a big one in the World Series. Game 5, Derek Fisher flying through, but this guy has been clutch for the Houston Astros. We talk about it all the time. This one against the Tampa Bay Rays at home in Minute Maid Park against Sergio Romo out there. But this guy loves the moment. That was a big one to finish off that homestand, going deep against the Blue Jays. But there were a lot of barreled baseballs in that series. And on the season for Alex Bregman, coming into this season, he has, according to StatCast, has 23 barreled baseballs. Last year, he had 23 barreled baseballs all season.
Wow. Just past the halfway point this year. And you and AJ talk about it often, how he's just so quiet at the plate, and still just a very efficient swinger of the baseball bat.
Yeah, it got on the plane last night, and Alex Cintron, the first base coach for the Astros, stopped me. He goes, "Who does he remind you of that we played against?" Because Cintron, kind of that same era as I was. And he said he reminds him of Jeff Kent. I think that's a great call, because he's kind of that gap-to-gap power, quiet swing, not a lot of moving parts. Yet when he gets the barrel to it, it's smashed. But if you go back a little bit further, it's almost a Paul Molitor type swing for me. But I think the Kent comparison is kind of nice.
Down on the count here, 1-2. Just sat down, turned on the Astros. This is from yesterday, I guess, when they were down. Oh no, they aren't winning. His response, it's okay. The Astros never give up. That's a good lesson. Kids even know the Astros never give up. AJ saying that yesterday as Bregman tries to beat the double play, but the Astros hit into another one. As Bregman grounds into 2 to end the top half of the 7th inning. Let's send it to Kevin Eschenfelder and Mike Stanton in our Rooms to Go lounge as we head to the bottom of the 7th.
Colors so far, 6 innings pitched, no runs allowed, a walk and 6 strikeouts. You can see some of the snap on the curveballs that he's had this evening. A couple of them sliding a little bit. He gets on the side of it to create a different spin, but the bottom dropping out of it, creating a lot of swing and misses over the top for these Tampa Bay Ray hitters. Seen changeups coming into this start, but now heavy on that breaking ball on the season. That pitch against the Tampa Bay Rays, they're hitting .208, which is 14th best in Major League Baseball, so it might be part of the reason that Lance has gotten on it and made it a very good, effective pitch for him this evening.
Facing Joey Wendell, first one gets by McCann and all the way to the backstop. That's facing the number 5 hitter, Wendell, followed by C.J. Cron and Malik Smith. Ball's hit hard past McCullers, past the diving Marwin Gonzalez into center field. Joey Wendell, a leadoff base runner for Tampa Bay in the 7th. Snapped an 0 for 17 with that base hit. Colors will face C.J. Cron. 3 hits now for Tampa Bay, all singles. Cron has grounded out and been hit by a pitch. Astros get their first bullpen action of the night going. Cron hits one hard, short hop by Alex Bregman to Altuve for 1, and they turn 2 on Cron. A bullet. Glove cleanly on the short hop by Alex Bregman, and they turn 2.
Changeup grip in his glove as he came set. Cron does a good job of hitting pitches in. This is a changeup that kind of started middle, ran in on C.J. Cron, and he barreled it up. This is a rocket. Good job by Alex Bregman to catch that on the short hop and turn it into a double play. It's 109.4 miles an hour off the bat. The hot corner.
Alex just Picked it cleanly, made it look easy. Well, as many double plays as the Astros have been hitting into, nice to see one on the other side, especially when it comes off hot like that. There's Malik Smith.
Showed Vinny Castilla and Jeff Bagwell teaming up for a lot of RBIs in 1 month. And
yep.
That play right there kind of reminds me of Vinny Castilla, very good third baseman, and probably one of the easiest arms across the diamond, who would throw it in a window every single time over there to first base. But you pick it like that, and he'd real casually look over at you and go, "Poppy, I picked that like a booger." It was hilarious. Oh, man. Vinny K was one of the best.
Vinny Castilla. Yeah, he hit one up here at the party deck. Longest home run in Tropicana Field history.
He had some good one-liners too. That was one of them. And then if you hit one in the gap, you go, "Poppy, you went out and got some cabbage." Going gap.
Last we saw him was when we visited Colorado last year.
He's another guy that could get in the cage and probably hit a couple of bombs for you.
3-1 the count to Malik Smith. I want to put this guy on with his speed. 2 outs, he would definitely be off and racing. Chris Davinsky warming up. Evo just started warming up with CJ Cron at the plate. 3-1 pitch is upstairs, ball 4. So McCullers, for the second straight innings, allowed a hit and a walk.
The Astros' new World Champions commemorative brick program gives you the option to customize a brick that will line Champions Walkway at Minute Maid Park. For details and info, visit astros.com/bricks today.
A visit at the mound. Brian McCann, pitching coach Brent Strom, Lance McCullers Jr. Been a well-pitched game on both sides. Lance McCullers so far through 6 2/3. The Rays using Ryan Stanek to start the game. And he went an inning and 2/3, and Ryan Yarborough's gone the rest of the way. Lance sitting at 98 pitches. Carlos Gomez due up. Lance knows this is more than likely his last inning and may have a leash of 1 or 2 more batters with Chris Davinsky warming up.
This is a good spot for him, though. You've got a guy who has a high swing and miss probability in Carlos Gomez. If Lance McCullers goes out there and executes the pitches he wants where he wants them, should benefit him.
Gomez swings at a lot of pitches and fouls that one back. Three hits allowed by McCullers. He's hit a batter and he's walked 2 so far in this game. Pitch number 100. Runner on the move, swing and a miss at the curveball. Malik Smith has a stolen base. That's his 15th of the season.
What an effort by Brian McCann. That's that power curveball down in the dirt, and he picked it. Came up firing. Not too bad. Malik Smith can flat out fly.
Just a second base runner to reach second base for Tampa Bay in this game. Matt Duffy in the last inning, and now Malik Smith. But McCullers ahead 0-2 on Carlos Gomez. Swing and a miss. Lance gets through 7 shutout innings. So far allowing 3 hits, and the Astros lead 1-0 heading to the 8th. the office or on the go with MLB.tv. Your subscription includes MLB At Bat Premium, allowing you to watch live baseball on your favorite supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. We head to the 8th. One run between these two teams. It's 1-0 Astros. Ryan Yarbrough has been very good out of the Rays bullpen. Kevin Cash going to him with 2 outs in the 2nd inning. And he has gone 5 1/3 innings of 1-run baseball as he misses inside, almost hits Altuve with that pitch. It's 1-1. Tampa Bay has had bullpen action at various points tonight with Yarbrough out there, but he keeps coming back out for more.
It's been highly effective with that fastball, cut fastball, and changeup.
Austin Pruitt from the Woodlands now loosening up in their bullpen. Altuve has a hit in 2 at-bats, also has drawn a walk. Lance's day is done, and Brent Strom, the pitching coach, going over that night. A very good night for Lance McCullers pitching back at home. Broken bat. Altuve grounds one to Duffy for the first out. By far the best start for Lance in his 3 starts here at Tropicana Field. 7 innings of 3-hit shutout baseball. A kid who grew up over in Tampa, Florida. Pitching very well tonight. Here's Josh Reddick. Reddick cues one. Funny spin on that ground ball. Second baseman Joey Wendell makes the play. And Yarbrough has 2 outs in this inning. I'll bring up Evan Gattis.
This start for Lance McCullers is extremely impressive. 7 innings of 3-hit baseball, 7 strikeouts. And just checking back on some of the games that he has thrown this season, he's gone into the 7th inning a couple of times, but back on April 28th against Oakland in Minute Maid Park, 7 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs, no walks, 7 strikeouts, and 100 pitches.
Foul towards the Tampa Bay dugout and on top of the dugout.
That is similar to that, but a great start.
This one right up there with his best road start of the year. He had that one good game in Seattle back in April on the 17th where he struck out 11, but did allow a run in that game. Today, 7 shutout.
Yeah, it's been great for Lance. The fastball command early allowed him to get to some of those nastier secondary pitches that he has, and we've seen a lot of changeups and starts leading into this one, but today it was the breaking ball. Did a great job with the command down in the zone. 26 fastballs, 55 curveballs, but that is what makes Lance effective, is that breaking ball, and when it's on, he will go to it frequently.
55 out of 101.
So 55 curveballs from Lance McCullers, 17 swinging strikes.
Wow.
That is excellent.
Wow. Lance had the Snapdragon working tonight.
Man.
55 of 101. Evan Gattis with a count of 2-1. Gattis 0 for 3 tonight. First time up struck out against Ryan Stanek. Last 2 times he's grounded out against Yarbrough. This ball hit hard and scatters the Astros bullpen.
Man, that was a betadine bullet. Scattering the boys down there.
McHugh stayed his ground, but Peacock and Harris were taken off.
See who loses the bet and moves first. I think it was Will. Yeah, Will was out of there. Peacock wanted no part of that.
This one over their heads foul.
Telling everybody about all of how his life passed before his eyes.
Well, normally you would have the ball boy down there protecting them, but at this point with bullpen action going. The ball boy has to protect the catcher and pitcher. As Yarborough, very effective in his work tonight, gets through the 8th with a 1-2-3 inning.
Astros bullpen's been good. Played some tight ball games back there at home. 102 strikeouts are second in Major League Baseball. Tony Sipp getting in on the action, having himself a great year, and Brad Peacock regaining the form that we saw that finished off last season with that turbo slider for the swing and miss. A new addition, Ron Dome, closing out some games with strikeouts. These guys have had the opportunities, and they've also been well rested because of that starting rotation. Devo now in this game, hopefully to finish this thing off for Lance McCullers.
Yeah, Devo can add to that total, certainly, as he has been striking out hitters at a high rate this season.
32 2/3 innings, 40 strikeouts. That ERA, beautiful 1.38.
Facing Willie Adames to start the inning. The number 9 hitter checks his swing and fouls it right at his manager, Kevin Cash. It's 1-1. Strikeouts per 9 by a bullpen in a single month. Well, it's not a shock, I guess, that since 1920 that 4 of the top 5 performances have been in the last 3 years. Strikeouts are up.
Yeah, it's a combination of guys that throw electric heat and secondary pitches, but it also has a lot to do with no 2-strike approaches anymore.
Aroldis Chapman has a large say in some of those strikeout numbers for the Yankees. Dylan Betances the same. But the Astros have a chance to beat the Yankees mark, which was set just a couple of months ago. Devo with a count of 1-2. Lance goes 7 innings, 3 hits, shutout baseball, walked 2, hit 1 batter. Struck out 7, including Carlos Gomez. For strikeouts 5 and 7. Adames stays alive on the changeup. Hooked into left field for a base hit. Adames takes the turn. Reddick slips a little bit, and his throw will come in late. Adames has a leadoff double in the 8th.
The lack of exit velocity allows Adames to go out there and get this double off the end of the bat. That was a slider from Chris Davinsky, and Adames getting around it, pulling it down that line. Some slippage out there for Josh Reddick. But Adames knows with his speed and that ball not hit very hard and taking a while to get to Josh Reddick, he can force the issue with that speed that he has and gets there.
Here's Kevin Kiermaier. Corners pinch in, thinking about the possibility of a bunt. Kiermaier does show bunt and takes a pitch inside, ball one. Not a lot of scoring threats for Tampa Bay, but they have now had a runner reach second base each of the last 3 innings after not having any runners reach second in the first 5. Bunts it past Davinsky. He now gloves it and makes a throw, not in time. Kiermaier's speed beats it out. Push that bunt to a perfect spot, and now Tampa Bay has first and third, nobody out.
It's a tough read. That bunt was hit or bunted relatively hard. Bregman read it as it was going back to Davinsky, so he broke back to third base. It's tough when you got that much speed on the base paths too.
Here's Matt Duffy. Duffy's been their best hitter for the last month, hitting .340 in his last 25 games. It's pitch inside, ball one. Devo made a great recovery just to get to that ball because he comes off his delivery on the first base side of the mound. Duffy tried to bunt and bunts it foul. They flipped himself in the helmet. This little safety squeeze there wasn't a suicide squeeze.
Yeah, we've seen it plenty of times. It actually started here, I believe, with Joe Madden with that first and third situation, a bunt towards first base. And after the runner at third base sees that ball going towards first, they take off for home. It's been an effective play. We've seen the Astros employ it several times.
Two and one the count. AJ has his infielders not all the way in, but halfway. The middle infielders will make a quick decision whether to try and turn two, or if they think they can cut down the tying run at home plate, come home. There goes the runner. Line drive caught by Marwin Gonzalez, and he can run to the bag himself. He'll flip it to Tyler White for the double play. Kiermaier on the move and a line drive double play. 2 outs in the inning.
That's how you draw it up. Wait for that runner to get moving at first base and get well away from it, and then just hang a fastball that can be laced to your shortstop for a line drive out. Then just double up the guy. That was perfectly played. Well done. It's amazing. Sometimes you got to be lucky.
That's a big break right there.
That's a huge break.
Couple of line drive double plays the last couple of innings. That one in the air. The other one, C.J. Cron smashed to third.
Well, Kiermaier's speed, he's off and running. If this ball is lined just maybe about 5 or 6 more feet in the air over Marwin's head, what if it shoots the gap on this turf and all of a sudden you've got 2 runs on the board with Kiermaier running?
Now Davinsky needs to work against Jake Bauers. Starts him with a fastball away, 1-0. Bauers 0 for 2 with a walk. Evo faced Bowers one time at Minute Maid Park in that last series when Houston took 2 out of 3 from Tampa Bay, and he struck him out. But he's down in the count here, 2-0. Ground ball towards Altuve. He has it on a couple of hops, and Davinsky gets out of the inning. Some nice work on the infield, the line drive double play, and then Altuve getting the ground ball from Bowers.
Straw poll. Thank you for voting and following. We wanted you to pick which Astros historical duo would you choose, or out of these 3, I should say. And you wanted to hit 3 and 4 in your lineup. Of course, Baggy's going to be on a winning team. It's Cesar Cedeno. That's pretty good for 3 and 4. 43%. Thank you again for voting and following. TK.
All right, Julia, we head to the 9th in a 1-0 game. Some good breaks for the Houston Astros. Last couple of innings, some smashes turned into double plays, and now kid from the Houston area, the Woodlands to be precise, Austin Pruitt takes over for Tampa Bay.
15 games this season. He has pitched 53 innings, 31 strikeouts, 10 walks in those 53 innings. 90 to 93 with the fastball, changeup, curveball, and a slider.
Facing Marwin Gonzalez to start the 9th, and misses with a fastball outside, ball 1. Astros wouldn't mind tacking on a little insurance run as Hector Rondon begins to warm up. Tampa Bay will have the 4, 5, 6 hitters due up in their lineup. There's a called strike. Marwin has a hit to left field in 3 at bats. Pruitt also attending University of Houston. To Woodlands College Park. Had his high school jersey retired over this past offseason. Ahead of Marwin 1 and 2. Marwin, Tyler White, Brian McCann if the inning continues. Jake Marisnick, who's accounted for the only run of this game with a home run. Jake also has been hit by a pitch and reached on a single. He's been on base all 3 times. Marwin holds up. It's 2 and 2. Tampa Bay had first and third, nobody out in the bottom half of the 8th inning. Davinsky got the help of a line drive double play with Kevin Kiermaier on the move. And then Bowers grounded out to end the inning. Stays 2 and 2 on Marwin. 3-2.
Good to see the Astros scratch out a run or two in this inning. All starts with Marwin working himself to a 3-2 count.
Swing and a miss. Marwin goes down swinging. Pruitt strikes out the first batter he faces.
Go behind the scenes of Minute Maid Park with an Astros ballpark tour. Fans can check out areas such as the broadcast booth, Todd's chair, press box, dugout, scoreboard, and more. Visit astros.com/tours to book your tour today.
So 1 out, base is empty. Here's Tyler White making his second start of the year. He's been on base a couple of times tonight. A walk and a single, 1 for 2. White takes a pitch down and away. Astros a run on 7 hits. Tampa Bay no runs on 5 hits. The Rays use Ryan Stanek for an inning and 2/3, and then Ryan Yarbrough for 6 1/3 innings. Yarbrough only allowing that solo home run, and now Austin Pruitt in the 9th. If you're sitting at home and wondering why does Kevin Cash and the Tampa Bay Rays play the game this way, where you have a pitcher start a game who doesn't go very deep, basically they're looking to try and get the matchups they want early in a game, and then they'll let a guy like Yarbrough, who can start a game, obviously he can pitch, he can throw 100 pitches in an outing, they'll let him go the rest of the way. But they feel like if they can control the environment at the beginning, where the Astros are normally right hand heavy, with a guy like Ryan Stanek, that's what they've done the first couple of games to open up series against Houston. White with a count of 3-1.
And Yarbrough allowed them to save their bullpen.
Line drive in front of Kevin Kiermaier. Normally you see Kiermaier try and make a diving attempt. I think that ball carried on him a little further than he thought. And Tyler White has been on base for the 3rd time tonight. Tyler 2 for 3.
Got some league leaders brought to you by Houston Methodist. RBIs through the order for the Houston Astros, and that is an impressive mix. Just consistency through the lineup. You're not going to take a break off against these guys. What's beautiful about these guys being able to drive in runs in every section of the batting order means the guys in front of them are getting on base.
And Jake really providing the boost tonight with that home run in the 9th spot. Brian McCann hit the ball hard his last time up, but lined out to center. He's 1 for 3 tonight. Tyler White getting a start, has been on base 3 times. He's a 1 out base runner in the 9th. Won the count to McCann. Ramos checking White at first. Gets away from Ramos. Tyler White will advance. Pitch down low, but one of those you would think Ramos would normally smother.
Ooh, crossed up. I'm not sure he knew what that baseball was going to do. Wilson Ramos is kind of in that Salvador Perez build. Big guy, durable back there.
Pass ball charged to Ramos on the cross up, and now it's 2-1 on McCann. He drives one to center field. Kiermaier on the move, and he makes a sliding catch for out number 2.
Got a great jump on that ball. Keep an eye on that center fielder. He got a good jump. Kiermaier did, going to his right. Almost used the slide to slow down. Had to lunge a little bit at the last second.
Yeah, great look at that first step as he goes through his defensive charts to see where to play Jake Marisnick. He is definitely, along with this guy, they are two of the better center fielders in the game right now. Jake takes one down and in for ball one. Jake on base all 3 times tonight. Looking for a tack-on run here in the ninth. 2-0 would make Hector Rondon feel a lot better about things than 1-0. Just give him a little wiggle room in that bottom half of the 9th inning. Jake with a 2-0 count. Three and 0. Right on the precipice of getting that average over 200. It has been a tough climb back. Jake was down for a while there in the first couple months. Four-pitch walk to Jake Marisnick. He is on base for the 4th time tonight.
Here's an opportunity again for George.
George batted with the bases loaded in the 2nd inning. George looking for his first hit tonight. A couple of strikeouts, a fly out, and a fielder's choice. Outside, ball one. Visit from their pitching coach Kyle Snyder.
Nobody warming in that Tampa Bay bullpen, so a conversation with Pruitt with 2 outs here. Not sure you want to go out there and say, hey, be careful. This next thing you know, you're trying to be a little too careful and something hangs up out over the plate and it gets smashed.
We saw all those RBIs distributed throughout the lineup. George has 42 runs batted in this year out of the leadoff spot. Colin McHugh now joins Hector Rondon in the Astros bullpen. Two and 0. It's one thing during this stretch where George has struggled, he has been willing to take his walks. Foul tips that pitch. It's 2-1.
It's amazing. You get in slumps, and even in 2-0 counts, the pitcher is not pitching to your slump. He's pitching to who you are and your reputation. And Pruitt does not want to give up some 2-out lightning and an extra base hit, because Tyler White's going to score on a base hit. But if you hit a gap, Jake Marisnick on first base is going to come flying around and probably score also. So in order to protect that ERA and his team, he went to the off speed. 2-0.
Chop towards third. Duffy will make the play himself to the bag, and that'll do it for the Astros in the 9th. 2 left on. 1-0 game heading to the bottom of the 9th. Let's go places. By Arctic, overbuilt, not overpriced. And by T-Mobile, show your military appreciation and use hashtag #HatsOffForHeroes. T-Mobile will donate $1 for each post. We head to the bottom half of the 9th inning. Astros holding on to a 1-0 lead, and Hector Rondon takes over.
Some of his numbers on the season: 32 games this season, 29 innings pitched, 35 strikeouts, only 9 walks, a very good whip at 1.1. Saw him in that Toronto series. He went an inning, had a strikeout through 23 pitches. Last time he picked up a save was on June 17th against the Kansas City Royals.
Challenges Ramos with the fastball at 95 miles an hour and gets a swing and a miss. Wilson Ramos, Joey Wendell, and C.J. Cron do up for Tampa Bay in this inning. Ramos 0 for 3, a couple of groundouts and a strikeout. Solo home run by Jake Marisnick in the top half of the 5th inning. The only run scored in this game. Jake and the rest of the outfielders playing very deep in a no doubles defense against Wilson Ramos. You can see Jake just in front of the warning track in center field. Swing and a miss at a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. It's 1-2. See how deep Reddick, Marisnick, and Springer are in the outfield. Swing and a miss. Rondon strikes out Ramos. 1 down in the bottom half of the 9th.
Big first down, getting Ramos. A couple of good fastballs, and then snap the slider for the swing and miss to get him on the strikeout.
Now he'll face Joey Wendell.
Great location on that. Started on that outside corner and break it off.
Slider grounded foul. That's a strike. Rondon ahead 0-2. Swing and a miss. Got him on the slider again. Back-to-back strikeouts with that pitch. And the Astros 1 out away now, leading 1-0.
Wendell's been struggling, but got a base hit on Lance McCullers with that fastball. I don't think Rondon wanted to get anywhere near it. 3 straight sliders gets him the strikeout of Wendell. Good backdoor slider, and then down and in with the slider. That was a nice little sequence of locating sliders.
Now it's C.J. Cron. Fastball bounces in there, 1-0. Cron hit the ball hard his last time up, but hit it right to Alex Bregman, smashed into a double play. The Astros have benefited by a couple of line drive double plays in the 7th and in the 8th inning. The 8th inning came with runners on 1st and 3rd and nobody out, and Kiermaier on the move. Kept this a 1-0 game. 1-1 to count. That's a strike with the slider, and now Rondon ahead 1-2. Couple of strikeouts in the inning. Rondon has thrown 8 out of 10 pitches for strikes.
It's a great pitch. C.J. Cron likes to turn on the baseball.
Doesn't chase there, and the count evens at 2. Cron facing Rondon for the first time in a regular season game. Another pitch down and away, and the count's full.
Good try by Hector. For me personally, I'm thinking a little bit about a fastball away. But Brian McCann might be running out there to ask him. He's seen some good sliders in this inning. Maybe asking him, do you feel like you could throw another good slider on that outside corner? C.J. Cron took one for a strike in this AB. Kind of tells you that C.J. Cron might be sitting on that fastball.
Fastball grounded towards the left side. Marwin throws on the run. It gets by Tyler White. And into the dugout. That'll put the runner to second base. Marwin moving to his left. Had to throw on the move. And bounced it past Tyler White.
Saw Marwin make a phenomenal play earlier going in the similar direction. And again, the shift is on, so if things get a little sketchy out there, trying to avoid Jose Altuve also. But we saw Marwin go with the spin move last time to get the out. This one he throws on the run. And when you're throwing on the run going to your left, it's tough to close up that front shoulder, and sometimes the ball has a tendency to drift with you. But if you're Hector Rondon, you just wash that from your mind and go right after this hitter. That's all that matters.
Here's Malik Smith. Fouls one away. Johnny Field, the pinch runner at second base for C.J. Cron. Smith is grounded out, struck out, and walked. The other way foul. That's how the Astros defend him in the outfield. Jake Marisnick shades Smith towards left center, and Josh Reddick very close to the line and left. Rondon ahead 0-2.
Josh is playing over there far enough that he might have a play on one of those shots if it stays in over by that bullpen area. $12,305 tonight at Tropicana Field for the first game of this 4-game series. Swing and a miss. Rondon strikes out Smith, and the ball game is over. The Astros prevail 1-0 with a 3-pitcher combined 6-hit shutout. Jake Marisnick providing the only run of the game, and he'll be in the middle of the Fortnite celebration dance. The jubilation dance on their way back in as the Astros win the first game, and they have now won 11 in a row on the road. Big